Welcome back. I'm Andrew, your crypto guy on the internet, and we're fucked. So let's look over what happened and what we have to look forward to. Plus, there's something really fun that's been on TV that you might not have heard of yet. So first, let's take a look at what's going on here with the market. Everything's continuing to plummet real bad because that inflation report was clearly higher than the Fed projected or told us. Remember, going all the way back, they said that there wouldn't be an inflation problem, and then there is, but it's transitory, no big deal. Then that inflation has peaked and we're seeing improvement, when in reality it was the opposite of all that. We have the worst inflation ever, and this is with doctored numbers that they're changing how they're measuring inflation to make it look better than it actually is, and even while doing that, it's still the worst ever. So this is terrifying the market, okay? Everybody, no matter what you're in, is suffering. The S&P 500 was all red. Everything was red. And crypto, as you can see, the stock market's already flattened out. It's already kind of chilled because they're going to see what the Fed's going to do in this meeting coming up here in, I think, 2 days. Now, we were told from the Fed that they were going to not do 75 basis points, that they're going to do 50 basis points for the next couple of meetings and probably chill out in September and see what happens. But then that inflation report came out at 8.6, and now the Fed's going, we have to really go at this problem. We can't take it easy anymore. Jerome Powell was kind of hoping the Biden administration would help on their end, but they're not. They made it a point to say that no, the Fed's going to handle this. The Fed can't do it alone. So the Fed's going to have to hit us with a bazooka. They're going to have to pull a Paul Volcker or something. And so they're discussing 75 basis points for Wednesday, which was not priced in at all. Okay, we believe Jerome Powell when he tells us he's going to do something, and then they just change things, and this is causing mass uncertainty. And then Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in particular took a super Saiyan shit. And that was both because of market sentiment and the same problems that the stock market has, plus one extra major problem, and that is the Celsius exchange, which I'm not on. I don't know if any of you guys are on, but if you are, there's a scare there because they're having a liquidity crunch and a bit of a bank run, and so they froze withdrawals, trying to do something similar to what the Russian market did, where they just closed the doors for a few days until everybody calmed down. That's what Celsius seems to be doing. And it's caused a contagion of panic, similar to what Luna did to us a little while ago. So now people who are on other exchanges are going, is that going to happen to me too? And so they're taking all their crypto off exchanges and just locking it up in a wallet, either a hardware wallet or just like Exodus or something, because they don't know what's going to happen, right? We have regulations coming, which I think are great, but in the short term, we have mass panic in multiple different directions right now. And so Bitcoin has, good lord, okay, it was at 23,000, 22.5, then it came back up, and now it fell outside of my chart. This is multiple levels down. The 200 weekly is 21,000. Last cycle's high is right about 20,000. Remember, we've never revisited a previous cycle high before, and I've said that in previous videos. But at this rate, we're going to touch it. So how much further down are we going to go? Well, this is emotional dumping. It's not metric dumping. There wasn't a Bitcoin CEO scandal or something, because that's impossible. There was no major network outage, which has never happened. This is emotional panic. It's not mathematical panic. And so this thing with Celsius will either smooth over, or their customers, as soon as they can, will withdraw their stuff and move to a different exchange. Happens. And then once Jerome Powell comes out with his smooth voice and says, yes, indeed, I'm going to fuck you. But then he does it, and then we know what's going to happen. And then I think the market will see a little bounce. Now, we're not going to come all the way back up to 40K, maybe 35,000's even out. But, we're coming down hard and fast. And usually when things move in one direction real fast, it retraces, okay? Whether you're going up or down, you've heard this from me before. So this is probably just a flash crash, and I don't know when the bottom's going to happen, but it'd be really awesome if it happened now. we get it out of the way, that'd be great. But the way the macro story's playing out, it's going to be a long, slow bleed unless Biden changes course or the Fed changes course. Now, the Fed is more likely to relax before Biden's people will. No, I don't think Joe Biden is really to blame. I mean, kind of, technically, yes. But I think he's just an old man who forgets where he is, and the people around him are doing these things. They're the ones who are burning us. I don't think Joe Biden himself has any power. But speaking of that, and the high gas prices and the stuff like that, there's been a series. Dude, I paused it at the perfect time. Okay, so there's been a series called The Senate Project that's airing on Fox, so you haven't heard of it. And it's debates between one Democrat and one Republican. It's not 50 people on the stage like the primaries. It's just one from each side. And Brett from Fox, who's actually pretty moderate, and he's taking it easy on these guys. He proposes a subject, and they discuss it between the two of them on stage. And it's not quite long form enough compared to like Joe Rogan, where you can hear Bernie Sanders talk for 3 hours and really understand where he's coming from. But you get enough time where they don't get cut off every 2 seconds like normal. And so it was Bernie Sanders versus Lindsey Graham. And the most fun I had was watching them discuss the high gas prices, okay? Because they're the exact opposite of each other, politically and temperamentally. It was like watching a cartoon, okay? So like Brett comes out and he goes, "All right, fellas, so what are we going to do about these high gas prices?" And it goes to Lindsey Graham first. And Lindsey Graham is like a summer afternoon nap and sweet tea as a person. And that's how he is at all times, no matter what's going on. And so you have 60 seconds to reply, and Lindsey Graham's like, "Well, let me take a sip first." That is some fine sweet tea on a hot day. Mr. Graham, please get to the question. Oh, all right, well. Now, I'm a little upset, you see. Gas prices are high all over the world. I'll give you that. But there's no reason for them to be as high as they are. We have plenty of oil production here that's all on pause for no reason other than Joe Biden's green dream. Joe Biden's green dream is... Hurry up, sir, we're running out of time. 10 seconds. His green dream is turning into a nightmare for the American people. So Joe Biden needs to pivot away from this green nightmare, or the middle class will enter the darkest time in our history. And then it goes over to Bernie Sanders, and he's the exact opposite. He's like, "It's the billionaires. They're greedy as fuck. They're making way too much money, and they're not drilling because they don't feel like it. And they're just robbing us every day." And then Lindsey Graham, instead of responding to that with, "Is corporate greed new? They weren't greedy at $2 a gallon. They're just greedy all of a sudden. They just decided to be greedy. Well, they took the money we gave them and they just spent it on their own stock." Well, what did you think was going to happen, Bernie? If you print $5 trillion and just give it away for free to companies, they're going to blow it on dumb shit. That's what Americans did. They blew it on crypto. And these companies with no oversight just took the money that you printed and bought their own stock with it. Because that's how capitalism works. These private companies are going to do what they have to make as much money as they can while they can. So if you hand them free money and go, "Hey, you should probably spend that on healthcare," they're going to go, we're going to try to jack up our stock price as much as we can. So that's what a lot of these companies, not just oil companies, anybody. In fact, at least $600 billion of the COVID relief was lost or stolen that we know of. A buddy of mine never even got any of his checks. Okay, the whole thing was a mess. And so Bernie's going, "Yeah, these companies are greedy. We should tax them." And to be fair, Bernie's always been that, and so you have to respect him for being exactly the same for 50 years. Bernie Sanders is like the left-wing Ron Paul, where no matter what the trend is, he's got the same message. And he's so fun to watch, and I freezed this video accidentally at the perfect time. This sums up the whole thing. So you have Lindsey Graham, who thinks you should just undo these policies. And then Bernie, he said he stole the election and we didn't. So it was just comedy hour without meaning to. But Lindsey didn't really press anybody on anything. That should have been me on stage, or like Ron DeSantis or somebody out there with balls who just would say, yeah, what did you think was going to happen? When you print $5 trillion, you steal it from the middle class is basically what you're doing. Now the bill has come due. The Fed had no idea what they were doing. This administration is completely out of touch. We're fucked, and we either have to pivot now or we're going down hard, okay? And then the market shows that. The market doesn't lie. And when the stock market does this, then the housing market does it, and then you got a lot of homeless people that aren't supposed to be homeless. They're not druggies. These are normal people that have lost everything, and then you get a real problem, okay? So that's where we're headed. Unless somebody changes their tune right now. Now, Bernie, like a few days ago, called out his own party and says, we better switch this up. We're talking about January 6th and people can't buy food, okay? So January 6th is important, but right now it's like the 50th thing on the list of things that people care about right now. We're focusing on January 6th because we're losing our ass on every real issue. And so you got to hand it to Bernie on that one. He's right on that. Now, yeah, corporate greed is real. And they use the money for COVID relief to buy back their own stocks because of course they would. That's how they would make the most money. Because you don't want to have, and this is really a lesson in government, okay? You do not want to have anyone that's a lifelong politician with no experience in the world of business or finance to shape laws and policies for business and finance, okay? That would be like a plumber telling a fighter pilot how to do his job. The fighter pilot's like, that's not what we do here, man. If you give me the wrong directions, we're all going to crash, okay? I have to know what I'm doing. In fact, the pilot's boss should be a super pilot, the four-star general who's been there, okay? So, like, if you're hiring someone for a job, you look at their resume. Hey, does your experience match this job? And if it doesn't, you don't hire them. Why don't we do that in politics? Oh, you were the mayor of Tucson for a week? You're energy secretary now. No, it should not be like that. So you can't govern or shape policies based on your intent or your feelings or you think this will work. You have to know because you've been there. So if you're talking about monetary policy, what to do with an economy, you don't get a 2-year graduate from Berkeley who just took the test for economics, Keynesian-style economics. You get someone who's been in the world of business, who started with nothing and rose to the top. Who went through every bull and bear market, through total crashes, different regime changes, and they made it anyways, and they show up after selling everything off and retiring and sitting pretty. You can't buy them out because they're already rich off their own work. They show up and go, let me tell you how to shape the monetary policy. I know how it should actually be because I've been there through all of it. So that's what I would suggest. Meanwhile, hey, it looks like Bitcoin is chilling out at that 200. Wow, this is the first time this has happened. I mean, we've revisited the 200 before after losing the 50, and that's what we're doing right now, but we've never stayed there for very long because buying and greed kicks in at a certain level, especially now. This actually triggered some of my buys. I had a buy at about 23.6, and then another one at 22. Was it 22,300? So they both went through. I'm going to check my account here in a little bit, but we're still going down. This is either you give up and run away, or you see it as the juiciest buying opportunity ever. So like we don't know where the bottom is though. So I'm DCAing just a little bit on the way down, knowing it could go further. But the further down we go, the harder it is to keep going down because you're running out of people to sell, okay? So we're down to whales who won't sell and then hardcore Bitcoin for lifers like myself, and then you have a little bit of stock guys that have it in their company portfolio that are just dumping it and shorting it right now, which is fair, but they're going to buy it right back up as soon as the panic stops. So this isn't like a long-lasting move. Altcoins are getting mega jacked up. Ethereum at 1100 is the bargain of the century, and that's because there's a rumor of maybe the merger will be delayed because they delayed the difficulty bomb, which is what they had to do to encourage proof of work people to move over to proof of stake. Anyway, that's a lot of stuff at the same time. I'm turning into Bernie Sanders. I have 2 job interviews this week, so I have to look normal and get a haircut. Fortunately, they don't know that I do this with you guys yet, but at this rate, I'm going to have to stop for a little while. No, I'll never stop. I'll do this to the end, okay? This is this is like the hardest game ever, and you get one life. That's why it's so exciting. It never ends. You can never fully master it. It's the best challenge in the world, and I'm actually glad I quit my solid career to dedicate myself to the market during the worst market of all time, which was the worst timing on my part, but trial by fire, baby. I got so much chest hair now you can't even imagine it because of what these numbers are doing. But if I can stick through it, so can you, and we're going to do it, and we're going to be okay. Have fun out there.